The Atlanta Braves dropped the series finale 2-1 to the Colorado Rockies, but at least they didn't win the series. At least they didn't lose the series. Let's talk about it.
This is the Braves Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Atlanta Braves. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into the Braves Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your Atlanta sports teams each and every day, and we do it live. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby, author of the Braves Today newsletter over at bravestoday.com. You can follow me on social media at Crosby Baseball. He's Jake Mastroianni, host of Locked On Braves. Follow him on social media at Shortstop Ball. Subscribe to the podcast. I understand Jake's going to be talking about Ozzie Albies in the next one, breaking that down a little bit. But Jake, we got to talk about this 2-1 loss by the Atlanta Braves to the Colorado Rockies. Again, you won the series, so it's a little better than the last two seasons when you lost a series to the Oakland A's 2 years ago. You lost a series to the Chicago White Sox last year. They were both the worst teams in baseball. At least you didn't lose the series. But the way you lose game three is, I thought this was behind us, right? 3 hits, 1 run, 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position. And the frustrating part is you do it with a shuffled lineup heading into an off day, and Alex Verdugo's on the bench for the entire game. Frustrating.
Yeah, very frustrating, because you also got a fantastic start from Chris Sale, and he's got to be frustrated. He finally, goes deep into a ball game, throws the ball really well, and he loses. And all that great offense and run support that the other pitchers have been getting, he didn't get in this one. So I'm sure he's probably going to blame himself for giving up the home run to Doyle and all of that. But I thought he pitched well in this one. I know we'll get into it, but certainly frustrating. This felt like one of those lineups where it was, hey, we've had a great road trip. We've already won this series. Let's just let some other guys play. And if we win, we win. Great. And I don't love that mentality, especially when you got the off day tomorrow. Just go for the kill shot and put them down. And just didn't feel like that was, again, they want to win. I'm not saying they didn't try to win today, but when you put that lineup out there and you shake things up, when you got guys that are playing well where they are, it just kind of gives you that vibe going into it. In a day game getaway, even with the off day, just kind of had that vibe even going into it.
Yeah, this wasn't as bad as like the lineup you put out the day after you clinched the division or anything, but this was definitely, inserting Eddie Rosario, and Brian Stinker talked to the media about if Eddie's going to be here, and I think this was relayed from Wally Ballard on the broadcast. If Eddie's going to be here and get pinch hits, and be a pinch hitter for us, he needs to get at bats. And I understand the thought process behind Alex Verdugo didn't get a spring. He's doing a lot of running in the high altitude. Let's give him a day off. But to your point, the lineup was different today. And the lineup, the vibes were different because the lineup was different. And given the hole that you started in, just how bad you were, and the fact that this could have been the game that puts you at a 500 record, it really felt like you needed to go for the win, get the series sweep, get the 500 record, and have some momentum going into a matchup with the Los Angeles Dodgers at home on Friday.
Yeah, it felt like and again, it's hard to say this in April, but it felt like somewhat of a momentum game. You finish off the sweep, you get to 500 through the month of April after that rough start. And look, to get back even to where they are now is still pretty incredible after the 0-7 start, but it felt like you had a really good chance to get back to 500 by the end of the month, come back home with the off day, feeling pretty good about yourselves. And this just kind of puts a damper on it a little bit with losing this game. And like you said, it's only one person, or I guess 2 people with Murphy being out and Baldwin being in. So 2 different people in the lineup, but it just felt completely different to me, because you take Michael Harris from the 7th spot where he's been so good, and now you put him in the leadoff spot. You're still putting Ozzie in the 5th spot for whatever reason. And the at-bats from Eddie Rosario were just terrible, especially compared to the at-bats that you've been getting for Alex Verdugo. So again, while it wasn't, too many people coming into the lineup and going out, it just felt like a completely different lineup.
Yeah. Verdugo had a 58 mile an hour ground out. He had a 66 mile an hour ground out. And then he had a 3-pitch strikeout with 2 whiffs in the zone. They threw him 3 pitches in the zone. He looked at the first one. He swung through the next 2, went back to the dugout. And it's just, it's not competitive at bats.
Yeah.
And
I mean, the guy hasn't been playing competitive baseball for a little while. I mean, again, so I can kind of understand that. It's just, and I understand wanting to get him at bats, but I also really wanted to get this win because I felt like it was a big momentum win to be able to get back to 500 there. At least Eddie did make a couple of sliding catches in the outfield. I'll give him that, but the at bats were quite awful.
The patented Eddie Rosario sliding catches he charges in. The 3 hits in this one, Ozzie always picks up 1 in the 9th. It's not enough for me to take back all the bad things I've said so far this year. Eli White gets 1. Nick Allen gets 1. 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position. Leave 5 on base. Eli White steals a base. I didn't realize only the second base he's stolen all year. He has fantastic speed, and he doesn't run as much as somebody with that speed you think would run. But he's very efficient when he does. He hasn't been caught yet this year. But stolen base there. Outside of that, you even only drew 3 walks. It's just you had 6 guys on base in the entire game, and that's not going to get it done against anybody, even the worst team in baseball.
Yeah, the at-bats just felt off today. For whatever reason, you had 3 walks, 8 strikeouts. You know, I tell you, always looking for under 8 there. Dollander's a good young pitcher. I know you and I both cover the SEC and got to see him a lot. It's a good pitcher. I think he's going to be good. He threw the ball really well today, especially when you look at that blister that he had. It also seemed like hitters were really struggling to pick up the baseball today. And I don't want to take anything away from Chris Sale and what he did on his end, but they clearly weren't picking him up either. So I don't know if that was part of it because neither team hit the ball particularly well, but the at-bats just didn't seem to be quite as sharp. And again, that goes, for me, kind of goes into that mindset. Look, these guys are human and you've had a good road trip. You've already won the series. The lineup's been shaken up a little bit. You're looking forward to going home and having an off day. There's a human side to that too, that maybe just mentally they weren't completely there in this one. It's not an excuse. You got to come up and play each and every day, but it just, again, it had that feeling going into it and certainly throughout the game where the guys just didn't seem to be as hyper-focused as we've seen here with the at-bats lately.
They were flat. Yeah. Like it's not an excuse, it's an explanation, right?
Yeah.
Like we're not saying it's okay, but trying to figure out what happened, that's the most logical thing to kind of figure out there. In just a second, I want to talk about Chris Sale because, you know, what he looked like, the things that he did, very, very promising. We'll do that next right here on the Braves Postcast. But first, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Monarch Money. If you ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it's easy to lose track. And that's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Because Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. So Chris Sale sets a a season high in innings, pitches 7 full innings, 5 hits, 2 runs, no walks to 10 strikeouts. And I overuse this phrase, but 2 things can be true at once. Best start that he's had all year. I think he would go and tell you that there's a little bit more that he could have done. You mentioned he's going to take blame for the home run, but almost all of his whiffs in this one come off of the slider, and that's a typical Chris Sale thing. The fastball velocity was still below his season average, but that felt more like he was holding back and it was intentional, more so than he didn't have it, which is what we've seen in some of the previous outings, weather related and things like that.
Yeah, I would agree with that because, I mean, he topped out at 97, and that's generally where we're going to see him top out. And he's been a guy that, you know, it may be 92, 94 early in a count, or when he really needs one, he'll pump it up to 96, 97. So that doesn't bother me as much. I mentioned the Doyle at bat, though, because it was a fastball, and it was actually really well located, but it was 92. And so it gave him, you know, a little bit more tick there to be able to get his hands inside and get that one out. But again, it was still a really good pitch. And I thought overall the command on all of his pitches was really well today, including the fastball. But the slider obviously was the pitch in this one for him, generating all the whiffs. 23 whiffs is just an insane amount. So again, I thought this was a good version of Chris Sale. As I've said with both Bryce Elder and AJ Smith-Shawver, though, it's hard to really take too much away from the outings here from the pitchers because of the opponent you're facing and where you're doing it because of the movement profile that it can change on your pitches. But just watching it visually, I mean, this looked like Chris Sale. And what I loved in this one, and you saw it in his last outing too, was he had a runner on third base, no outs. What does he do? He bears down, gets 2 big strikeouts, doesn't allow them to get that extra run there. So love seeing that from Chris Sale. Love to see him going 7 innings. I mean, again, gotta have him going deeper into the ball game, 6, 7 innings repeatedly. So I was very encouraged. Again, I understand the opponent here that he's facing, but I just thought the stuff overall looked much better, much crisper than what we've seen.
Yeah, and on the note of his velocity, his 3 hardest fastballs of the game all come in that 7th inning. So he clearly, he had plenty in the tank still. He was going out and kind of emptying the tank to get through the inning there. But outside of that, he was pumping 95s in the 2nd and the 4th and the 6th. I mean, multiple different times. So I do feel like, yes, the velocity's down overall, but that's more of a intentional holding back until I need it. Although to your point, Brenton Doyle gets an early swing on it, gets a home run off of it. I like the fact that he used the changeup and the sinker, I feel like, a little bit more than he has in recent starts. This is really the first start. It was still predominantly slider fastball, but this was the first time I feel like he's been able to go to both of those secondaries because he wanted to, not because he had to. He doesn't get any whiffs on the changeup, gets one on the sinker, but just getting weak swings, getting some poor contact outside of the changeup being lit up one time. But for the most part, this is the Chris Sale we need. And this Chris Sale is good enough to win when your offense can do what they did. I no home runs in 3 games in Coors Field blows my mind a little. I never thought I would say that about a Braves team of all teams. If the Guardians didn't hit any home runs in Coors Field, I wouldn't be that shocked by it.
Yeah, I mean, that is, and I said it yesterday, I said it'd be incredible if the Braves get a sweep in this series and somehow don't hit a home run. Well, they don't hit a home run, but they don't get the sweep. And that is just, considering you had 28 hits in the first 2 games and none of them are able to leave the yard. I thought Matt Olson got it earlier in this game. I think maybe he got it off the end of the bat a little bit. It's a great catch at the wall there, but I thought that was going to be the one. But I don't really even remember too many others today that were all that close to getting out. So, yeah, just pretty wild. You go into a series in Coors Field for a team that I believe the Braves were at least top 5 in all of baseball and home runs coming in. Well, I don't know if they're still there now, but and then they can't get 1 home run in this series. That's pretty crazy.
Olson's fly ball was a 9 of 30 with an expected batting average of 820. So, not a terrible piece of hitting, but not out in this ballpark. Okay, so Braves going into the off day, and then obviously you welcome LA this weekend. We did get a little bit, not to go too much outside of this game, we did get a little bit of a preview as far as what the rotation is going to be this weekend. Grant Holmes versus Yoshinobu Yamamoto on Friday. Mitchell Schwellenbach versus Roki Sasaki on Saturday. Bryce Elder versus Dustin May on Sunday. In retrospect, would you have rather figured out something else today and pushed Chris Sale into Friday so that you had Sale, Holmes, Schwellenbach versus LA and you brought Bryce Elder to Cincinnati? Or do you think it was fine to just keep him on schedule?
Yeah, I mean, if I had the foresight to know that the Braves offense was going to lay an egg today, then yeah, I would have loved to.
Bullpen game.
Yeah,
Scott Blewett.
I'd love to push Chris Sale back, but no, I mean, I think you stay on schedule and go with what you already had. I mean, look, you can't always choose who your opponent's going to be for each pitcher. At least at this part in the season. Obviously, we've seen them do it at the end of the season. A couple of years ago when they had the Met series coming up and they lined up everybody for the end to get their best starters there. But at this point in the year, I don't think you really need to do that. So no, I don't think I would have changed it up at all.
There you go. Final thing is we got the news during the broadcast. AJ Smith-Shawver got an X-ray on his elbow. There's no structural damage. They see no fracture, no break, nothing like that. He's expected to be able to make his start next week. Said he was fine after the game. The X-ray confirmed that. That was Wally Ballard on the broadcast. Again, Atlanta Braves dropped Game 3 of the series 2-1 to the Colorado Rockies, but take the series and head back to Atlanta for an off day, and then 3 with the Dodgers this weekend. Do us a favor. If you're listening on audio, leave a 5-star review for Locked On Braves, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to both Locked On Braves and Locked On Sports Atlanta. Hit the notification bell so you know when we go live to break down every single one of these games. Until next time, this has been the Braves Postcast.